Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. It's really nice to see a full house. Before we begin, I'd like to read this notice about recorded meetings. Please be advised, North Frontenac Council meetings are recorded. By attending a public meeting of council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Members of council, staff, delegates, and attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their action results in inappropriate and/or unacceptable behavior or comments. I'd also like to read our traditional land acknowledgement. We begin this gathering by acknowledging and celebrating these traditional lands as the gathering place of the first peoples and their ancestors who were entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. We do so respecting both the land and the indigenous people who continue to walk with us through this world. Today, the Township of North Frontenac is committed to working with indigenous peoples and all residents to pursue a united path of reconciliation. So before we begin, there's never a place on the agenda for mayor's remarks. I'd like to read part of a letter that we received from the Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks, and Treasurers of Ontario. On behalf of the Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks, and Treasurers of Ontario, I'm extremely pleased to announce that Brooke Ross has successfully completed the intensive process to graduate from the Association's Executive Diploma in Municipal Management. We believe that this is a tremendous accomplishment and should be regarded with pride by your municipality. The Executive Diploma in Municipal Management is a comprehensive career development program designed specifically for Ontario municipal managers. Graduates of the program are informed leaders with a comprehensive understanding of the complex and interrelated components of municipal management. They can immediately implement their knowledge and make a positive impact on any municipal corporation. Brooke, congratulations. Approval of the agenda.
Moved by Councilor Good, second by Councilor Regent. Be it resolved that council approves the agenda dated July 10th, 2025 as presented.
Any comment? In favor? Carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none. We have no business profiles. Presentation, Kelly. What was the presentation? The asset management plan.
Yeah, so thank you so much. I do apologize, I'm not in there in person. I had a previous engagement, but it's important to get this asset management plan approved as close to the July 1st requirement as we could. So I am here presenting virtually. Next slide. I don't think I can change it. Okay, so the Ontario Regulation 588-17, so the asset management planning for municipal infrastructure, was created to ensure that municipalities in Ontario take a strategic and sustainable approach to managing their infrastructure assets. So this has been phased in since starting in 2019. So you'll see in this graph, started with the asset management policy. We did a plan for core assets. Then 2024, last year, council approved the plan for the core and the non-core assets. And the final implementation phase is the proposed level of service. So that's the big sort of change for this report. Next slide. So why is asset management important? So it improves transparency and accountability. It supports our long-term financial sustainability. It enables better decision-making based on asset data, helps prioritize infrastructure investments, and reduces risk of unexpected failures or costly repairs. Next slide. So as I said, so in the asset management plan document that you received today, a lot of the technical information has not changed. So that has remained the same. So what has been updated from 2024 to 2025 is the updated financial information, as well as the plan provides for 2 proposed levels of service for consideration and how we can achieve that. So when looking at levels of service, there are three main categories that feed into that. First, we have the cost, the financial resources needed to build, maintain, and operate our infrastructure. Next is performance, how well an asset is functioning in meeting the community and technical levels of service. And then finally, risk, the likelihood and consequence of asset failure or service interruption. All of that feeds into our value and level of service. So our total current replacement cost is $184 million. Based on this graph, you can see the majority of our assets are in the roads and roadside category and bridges and culverts. Next slide. So when looking at levels of service and proposed level of service, one of the main factors is setting the overall condition target for our assets. So condition is done based on a rating system and is depicted in the picture on this slide. For the assets that we do not currently evaluate based on condition, we use an age-based condition. You will see this mainly in our fleet, equipment, and machinery categories. As we evolve in this journey, we will ideally get to a place where we review condition on all assets based on a standardized approach or policy. We have seen a drop in our condition from 2024 to 2025 from 70% to 65%. This is due to some data cleanup as well. We don't currently have an in-house mechanism for reviewing condition of our roads and roadsides, as this is our largest asset category. So we are working from the roads study from 2022. Since then, we have not been meeting the target road kilometers of rehabilitation each year due to budget constraints. As we continue to improve our asset management framework, building internal capacity for condition assessment and securing adequate funding for rehabilitation will be key to maintaining or improving our targeted levels of service. Next slide. This slide breaks down the replacement cost, condition, annual requirement, current funding, and annual deficit by category. The categories on this slide represent our core assets. Next slide. And then this slide is the same information for the remaining categories, which is considered the non-core assets. Next slide. So in summary, our total replacement cost is the $184 million. Based on the full replacement of all assets, we have an annual deficit of $4.6 million. This is a large number, and as explained in previous years, there are some assets that may never see a full replacement. But the province is wanting us to strive to be self-funded for full replacement. As we work through this journey in asset management, we can start enhancing the way we keep records. For example, buildings. As this plan develops, we will be able to analyze and evaluate buildings based on a continuous state of repair, potentially rather than a full replacement. In previous versions, we included grant funding in our calculation. So last year, the deficit was $3.73 million. The difference from last year to this year is the grant funding. So this includes the Canada Community Building Fund, which was formerly federal gas tax, funding, as well as the Ontario Community Infrastructure Funding, the OCIF. So in 2025, I've been seeing that we are starting to use the Canada Community Building Fund more for one-off projects, our portion of grant funding. And so the best practices that have come across in the last year is that we look at our funding without the grants, because they are not guaranteed or a predictable source of funding. So that's why we are seeing the deficit higher. If we had taken in those grants that we did last year, then our deficit remained about the same. Next slide. So this plan has two proposed levels of service. The first scenario includes keeping an investment strategy at the current level. With that strategy, we will see the overall condition of our assets continue to decline. The second scenario is to strive for a proposed level of service with a target condition of good or 70%. This is the recommendation. To achieve this, we do need at least a 2% annual levy increase dedicated to our asset management plan. This will continue to bring us closer to our target. This projection is not taking into account grant funding, as is unpredictable and not guaranteed. This scenario of good to 70% is not going to take away the deficit, but will minimize it. Next slide. So our next steps, so continued data improvement. So with Mackenzie Miller now in the position of Technical Services Officer, part of her role is to assist with reviewing assets, strategies, risk, etc., in conjunction with Darwin Sproul, the Public Works Manager. Myself and Sandra Lessard will continue to work with the other departments to start looking at assets in a more strategic lens. As we review and dive deeper into this journey, the asset management plan will also evolve. The asset management plan is required to be reviewed annually by council, and we will compare year to year as we keep moving forward and seeing improvements. So you will find that the asset management plan, there is a bylaw later in the meeting. So we're looking for approval of the asset management plan as was presented today, where we do propose the strive for the 70% or good condition overall for our assets. As I've indicated here, I mean, there's still continuous improvement and work to be completed. The approval would make us in line with the July 1st requirements. Just open it up to questions.
Anyone have any questions? Councillor Hoodle.
Thank you for that presentation, Kelly. There's a couple questions.
Yeah.
The 70%, is that mandated by the province or is that a goal that we set?
That would be a goal that we set. So in this asset management plan, we had proposed the 70% is what we would strive for.
Okay, and then the recommendation is the 2% increase. I know at budget time, we've already put in an extra percent or 2%. This is above and beyond that 2%, is that correct? Or
no, that would be it's just re-emphasizing the importance of that 2%. Okay. So we already had those discussions for the 2025 budget. So this is recommending just to continue with that 2%.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Deputy Mayor.
I just want to clarify, Kelly, that means every year when we do a budget, we bake in 2% levy increase plus anything else we need.
Correct. Yeah.
So this, if we were aiming, for example, at a 4% levy increase in 2026, that only leaves room for 2% for other stuff, every other thing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I would just note that we're building a new $700,000 ring. That becomes a new asset that has to be maintained. It adds to the list of stuff that has to be kept at 70% or better. And I'm all in favor of it, but it's an ongoing caution, right, Wayne?
Yes. So it does absolutely add, but it also is going to work in the favor towards that overall condition. We're going to have this large facility or cost facility, at 100% condition for 2026. And we do have some other projects, the Pine Lake Culvert, South Levant Road, that's getting, significant improvements. So those are all going to help towards us, achieving that 70, getting closer to that 70%.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I have a couple of questions. Kelly, I know we had a major discussion on the 2%. We even went back to it before we approved the budget and it looks like we did it right. Is it going to be enough? Do we need another 0.5% or 1%? And I know we originally talked about 10 years, but maybe it looks like, according to the work, it's 15 years.
Well, I think the 2% is still fair, right? We have to keep everything in mind as far as the tax increases, and there's other things that will increase. what I foresee us doing over the next year is start to look at our assets a little more strategically. So vehicles, maybe we start looking at replacement based on a condition instead of the age of them. So currently, what we've been doing is replacing based on age. So maybe we can look at that and, look at them a little more strategically and look at, the average. We started looking at average repair costs, say in years 5 and 6, and trying to build that in. So that's going to be sort of the next step in this journey. So I wouldn't say at this point we want to go more than 2%, because there's still, some other strategic ways that we can get to where we want to be. And hopefully there's some grant funding as well.
Thank you very much. So final call for questions? Chair, we can read the resolution.
Moved by Councillor Good, second by Councillor Regent. Be resolved that council receives for information the Treasurer's Administrative Report entitled Asset Management Plan, and that the Asset Management Plan is a vital document that supports the effective and sustainable delivery of services to our residents by ensuring the management of capital assets in a cost-effective, resilient, and efficient manner, and that the Asset Management Plan aligns with the requirements of the Ontario Regulation 588-17, which mandates municipalities to develop and maintain a comprehensive asset management plan, and that council approves the asset management plan as presented, ensuring compliance with the provisions of the Ontario Regulation 588-17, and that council will consider a bylaw later in the meeting.
Final comments? In favor? Carried. Item 7, delegation. Willis Basani concession road allowance application. Mike, come up to the desk and turn the microphone on, and the floor is yours. Right in the very top.
First off, thank you for allowing me to be here. My name is Richard Pisani, and I represent myself and my wife, Kelly Willis, with respect to our property at 8072 Road 509. Can we move to the next slide? Yes. Okay, thank you. The goal here is for us to appeal to council and figure out a way to work with council and the township that will allow us to purchase 33 feet of the road allowance that's adjacent to our property at the back of our property. Also, we want to make sure that the proper due diligence is done in determining whether or not the 506 road allowance provide access to those properties is not viable. And if not, then as I mentioned, work with council to figure out a way that this could work for benefit of everybody. A little bit of background, the building, the house was built on that property in the 1960s by Don Keller and Bob Willis. Bob Willis is my wife's father, and it's been in the family, her family since then. We purchased it about 25 years ago as a plan to eventually retire to the community up here. We never realized at the time where the structure was or the house was. In the last couple of years, we've been doing improvements over the last 15 years to the property. And we had a survey done a couple of years ago, and we realized how close the house was to the actual property line that abuts next to the road allowance. The top drawing, figure 1, shows our actual lot with the road allowance adjacent, connecting it to 509, and it shows the neighboring properties. Figure 2 is just a quick snapshot of the survey that shows where the structure is. Most impactful is figure 3 from the survey that we had done a couple of years ago. I took that picture. Those are the boundary lines for our property. The road allowance is on the left, house is on the right. And in fact, I'm standing on the edge of our septic system at that point when I took that picture. We've invested in this property. We've invested into the community. We've built a garage with a studio. with local businesses and labor to help us go through. We continue to upgrade our property. Our hope was that we could expand the house, which is currently under 1,000 square feet, to accommodate us in our retirement years. Most of the land around our house is deemed hazardous marshland by the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority. So, we were limited to where we can expand, basically. And really, the only part is behind the house, and that's where we butt up against the road. Our concern is that, currently the structure doesn't meet the guidelines, that it has to be 15 feet from the property. So the house is already there. Our septic system is already within feet of the property line. From our perspective, if we retire, when we retire here, it'll impact our quality of life if a road is built out of our back door. We wanted to at least consider getting a buffer zone so that we can maybe have some options to expand the property to the rear a little bit, but also to provide some level of distance between us and where the road would be. And improve our quality of life, safety for ourselves and our pets. We've also been dealing with some flooding issues. We're across from Buckshot Creek. There's a culvert on our property that grows under 509. This year, the water levels have gone up and the overflow area is on our property next to the, just on the other side of the culvert. We're not quite sure exactly what a road in that direction would do to the water issues, whether the flooding would be increased and obviously, give us problems with our property. So our request, again, is to repeat myself, is to work with council and the township to figure out a way that we can purchase 33 feet of the road allowance behind our property. This will allow us the opportunity to expand a little bit and provide that buffer zone. And hopefully that is something that can work with council to figure out how it could benefit everybody in the end. Thank you.
For your presentation. Is there any questions? Dr. Herman?
Well, I guess my concern is if the municipality isn't obligated to maintain a right of way, standard right of way, then how can we actually require that from anyone in the future?
You're saying we need the whole 56 feet,
Right,
not the set of practice.
that's right, because if the municipality doesn't adhere to that, like I'm saying, how can we request anyone in the future to adhere to that?
Anyone else have a comment or a question? Sonny? Councilor Wood?
The only problem with that would be is people behind them with the landlocked.
There is another access. Whether it's appropriate for me to speak. There is another road allowance from 506 and 1. And again, I want to emphasize that it's not our intention to totally block township and council from being able to build, access to those properties there. We're just looking to buffer ourselves from whatever construction is going on.
Final question? Being none, thank you very much. Presentation will. Kelly, you must have a big other half.
Well, I have
You have a comment, Kelly?
Sorry, I kind of wasn't, sorry. I really didn't understand the point of view of one of the council members with regards to the 33 feet in behind and all people doing this in the future. Were you talking about building the structures close to the road allowance?
Vern, you want to answer that question? Because it's your, on the original.
No, I was referring to anyone in the future that they want to develop property, they're required to have a 66-foot road allowance. And if the township doesn't adhere to that themselves, how can we even ask anyone else to adhere to it?
I'm not sure I understand why people would, oh, you're talking about other municipalities? Or, I'm not sure I understand, sorry.
Well, our-
So,
I think it's,
My
we're talking
understand-
about setting a precedent. That's what it is with respect to maintaining the road allowance.
We go to great lengths through the committee of justice, someone with several options for
Sure.
consent and so on. To ensure that we get a 66-foot right away, because in days gone by, that wasn't always the case. So it's kind of policy, but we'll see what council says and we'll discuss it later. Okay?
Thank you.
So.
Okay.
Chair, would you read
thank
that?
you.
Moved by Councillor Good, seconded by Councillor Region. Be resolved that council receives the information of presentation from Richard Cassani and Kelly Willis regarding the closure of concession road allowance between concession 6 and 7 in lot 38 and Franklin for the time start today. The council will consider this matter under section 11 meeting.
Thank you. Item 7D, Shabamika Lake Association. Laura?
I'm blind without my glasses. Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Deputy Mayor, councilors, for allowing us to come and visit you again. So this is a follow-on from our visit here in May. It's not moving. No, this seems to be on. Okay. All right, so we came in May to talk to you about issues with cleaning up abandoned boats and trailers on the material, and we really wanted to express our appreciation for your deliberations and your decision to support us in that, and to take it on. Even though you agreed for the township to take it on, if there's any way that we can help out with that, we're obviously more than willing to do that. And one of those ways would be with the communication of once a notices are placed, you need to get it out. We have a WhatsApp group, we have an email list, we have a number of communication mechanisms so that we can, and some of our board members have said, we'll just go cottage to cottage and distribute notices and stuff like that. We don't want anybody taken by surprise. So the office stands to help out with that. As far as the solar lights, we've got them, the posts all painted, and we're sourcing the lights and getting ready to put in the work. So it'll probably happen towards the end of this season, but we really appreciate your support with that. So, as we talked about with the bylaw on the parking, we really understand what you're trying to do and we support it. And that's the core of what enabled us to move forward with the abandoned items. When the signage was placed, all of a sudden the WhatsApp group lit up. Going, oh my God, like we can't park here anymore. What are we gonna do? So I said to him, no, it's not actually in effect yet. I've got to work with it. But kind of implicit in what we talked about last time of identifying those items that can't stay there, that have been abandoned and don't belong. The flip side is that there are items that do need to stay there because our people who don't have road access need a place to leave their vehicles. And we've got people who live there year round, so they're there for more than 72 hours. We've got people who come up for, got one family who lives in Gibson, BC, and they come over for the entire summer. They drive across the country every year in order to take in the area around here. So they're there for extended periods of time. There are numerous cottagers who are there for much longer. And then when they're not there, their boats are going to be there. So what we're asking for is finding a way to identify the material that is allowed to stay longer than 72 hours per stock in the park. So what we're proposing is that we'd like to work with the township to develop a process to be able to issue permits to our cottage owners who don't have road access. If people have access to the road from their cottage, take your stuff, right? So we have suspicions that some people who have road access have been leaving their pontoon trailers there. Get them. You've got your own space, get rid of it. But for those people who do need to, who don't have anywhere else at the lake to leave their stuff, we need a way to identify them. So again, we're making the offer to handle this ourselves. If you deem that appropriate, if you come up with a different solution, we're certainly willing to and open to working with you on it. But what we would propose is that however these permits are set up, they'd be like license plates, and that there's random characters, whatever, and they're not clearly identified to emergency numbers or, cottage 1, 2, 3, whatever, so that people can't walk through the parking area and immediately know who's there, who's not there by the materials that are there. So we have a good participation in our association. We're about 60% of our cottages are members, but not everybody is. So I just wanted to reiterate that what we're proposing to do here, we would do for all cottage owners who don't have road access. It would have nothing to do with whether or not you were a member. It's for everybody. And we would, if we end up running it, then we'll provide to the township a list of, this is the cottage number and these are the permits that are associated with that cottage. So when it comes time for enforcement or validation, all of that information will be transparent to the township. We also have a need for temporary permits. So for people who are doing construction or roofing and they need a disposal bin, or they need to have construction material there, they would need to have a temporary permit. So that would be one that would be identified to the property that it belongs to and the duration of the permit. So whether it's, maybe for a disposal bin, it might be a week, or other construction material, maybe 2 weeks, but it would be short term. I don't know if that is a requirement for any other lake. The first part we think is just us, because everybody else who has a public landing also has a marina. So people have the option of putting their boats or their cars there. But if the temporary one is just us, then we're proposing to offer that as well. Again, we would be transparent with the township and figure out a way to make sure that all the ones that have been issued. So your enforcement officers have that information. And then we had our annual general meeting on the July 1st weekend, and Councillor Good was able to join us. Councillor Regent was taking with family issues, so she wasn't able to join us, but a couple of questions came up. And one is, how frequently is the public beach on our lake maintained? Whenever our cottagers go there, we usually take garbage bags to pick up trash that's left all over the beach. So we're wondering what the frequency is of the township doing that. And the portable toilet in the past has been well maintained. We haven't had any questions and concerns about it. We're just curious what the schedule is. Because now Norm is retired and we don't know how it's continuing for this year. One of the other issues at the beach is signage of bylaws and restrictions. So there's now this really nice township sign with the name, and it's on metal posts, but the signs that say no dogs, no camping, no vehicles, whatever, are paper, and they're stuck to trees in bush and around. So we're wondering if we could have better quality signage right underneath on the posts with the township sign, so that when people approach the beach area, they know very clearly that it's a no dog, no camping, take your garbage back out with you, all those appropriate rules are clearly signed. For us, the no dogs and everything is really important because our beach is flat, but it has a hill to the side. And the hill is a turtle nesting area. So we have to be really careful to, like, we're all really dedicated to protecting our turtles and making sure that everything is clean and proper for them. And the last question that came up at the meeting was the causeway that crosses from the township road to our private lane. The Beavers have been doing a really good job of filling it up lately. So there are times that one side, like the upstream side, the water is 6 to 8 inches higher than it is on the lake side. So we go through and try and pull things out, and they know the township came over and pulled things out. But we're also noticing that it's rusting and deteriorating, and we're just curious what the plan was to replace that, because if it collapses, then none of us can get to our properties on Showing Dog or Shoving. Thank you very much for your time and your attention and support.
Thank you, Laura. Does anyone have any immediate questions for Council Fowler? You've got several residential working.
Yes, and there are a total of, I think, 48 properties that don't have road access. 24, including mine. Okay. This is my husband, George, and he went through all those counts at the meeting. So yeah, there are 44 that that use the parking area. 7 of those use it year round, and that is their permanent residence. So they don't necessarily have somewhere else that they can take their stuff.
How large is the full parking area?
It's quite big, actually. I don't have the actual measurements. I don't know if you know that, Berlin.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Among ourselves afterwards, because that'll be part of the collection.
Yeah, there's a landing area, a parking area, an upper area, a space off on the side.
Yeah.
There's
Trees. We're good to go. Deputy Mayor.
So Laura, you're suggesting that the Lake Association would create the license plate permit something and issue them. I asked our public works manager how this might be enforced. Is this doable?
Mr. Mayor, I just. The enforcement issue is bigger than public, but there are more folks required to be involved.
I'm just thinking it's a reasonable request, but could be ignored. What do we do about it?
It's more bylaw enforcement.
Corey.
Hey, Mr. Mayor. So the issue is not about, the issue is space. And it's the same with every boat launch in all of North Frontenac Township, and most of the lakes all have boat access only cottage. So the issue for us is the space, and that's where we come. So by giving out permits for that, we're not solving the space issue. So what some associations have done, so Gull Lake Association, for example, has went and got an LUP with the M&R and created a parking lot for their association. We've also had another group that's went to a property owner and asked if they could park boats on their or park their trailers on their property. So there's other groups that's the kinds of things they're doing. So by doing that, we're still not solving the issue of space, and that's the concern. It's not. We don't want to just go after everybody parking. That's not the issue there. It's space. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, if I may, space is definitely an issue for us, and that's why when we came first, it was about cleaning up and getting rid of the stuff that's been abandoned there. If we do that, historically, there has been sufficient space. June 21st or whatever day fast season opens, it's a zoo. The long weekend in July and August, it's a zoo. But we've been able to manage it. And if we can get rid of the stuff that's been abandoned, it'll make it that much easier. Our issue is now with the parking bylaw, people are going to have their things there for 72, more than 72 hours, and they're liable to be fined and to enforcement actions. So the request is really from our cottage owners to find a way to allow them to have their things there, because that is the only place that we have. On our lake, there is no other space. There is no M&R space. There is no other option. Unless we've really missed something, and if you can find something that we've really missed, I'd love to talk to you about it, but this seems to us to be the best way to not encourage people to take more. That's absolutely not what we want to have. But for the people who do live there and who go up and cottage there for the entire summer, or they're there for 2 weeks at a time, whatever, they will be in contravention of the new bylaw. And there is no other option for them. So we're just looking for a way to identify these people as, please don't enforce the bylaw on them, because we don't have another option for them. And we don't want to say exempt the parking area from the bylaw. We're trying to say this specific population needs a way.
Right.
So again, this issue we have in all of our boat launches right now. So it would be really hard for us to say, Shabamika Lake owner, we're gonna exempt you from the bylaw. I think if council wants to look at this, I think we need to look at it, recommended that we look at it as a whole on all of our lakes. And I think part of our recommendation today is going to be that Brooke will look into this and bring back information. But I do think it's really hard to do something for one lake and not the other, all of the other. But I think it's hard to make a decision today until we have all the facts and try to figure out solutions for everywhere.
Number one, we're not being asked to make a decision today, but something good.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that we're not being asked to make a decision today with the board, but I do think we should look at our bylaw, because this lake is different than that I'm aware of any other lake. It doesn't have as many boat access cottages that we can have. But I'm aware of. I know some of them have quite a few different with this.
Okay, I'm going to draw the discussion to an end. So thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming down, through the storm and everything else. Okay, Corey.
I'm sorry, could you address a couple of our other questions, maybe about this, the outhouses and beach and the culvert? Because I know Darwin's done a little bit of time researching the culvert. It's okay, I'd like to. Darwin, you want to start with the culvert?
I can provide an update on the causeway and the culvert. So we have a number of culverts in that area where we pull the beaver dams on a regular basis. And on the causeway culvert in particular, we've reviewed the condition of that for last season and earlier this year. And we're monitoring it, but we currently have a design assignment out with a consultant, and we're designing the replacement. And that assignment we're it'll support our application to Mississippi Valley for a permit. And our plan is to replace it this fall when the water level drew down and it's more or less in the drive. So we're working towards that yet this year.
Thank you.
I you don't need the mic, I got a big voice. As part of the design, we plan on setting that. Oh, sorry. As part of the design, do you plan on putting in grates at the end so the beavers actually can't get into the culvert? Because in the past, Laura's uncle used to take bed springs and things down to put it across, and water could still go through, but it would stop beavers and it would stop sticks and stuff, and we go down every once in a while and just clear it ourselves. But if, as part of the new design, do you expect to have some kind of system to keep the beavers out of it? Because right now the beavers are pretty clever and they seem to get into the middle of the culvert before they start blocking it.
Yeah, no, we do. It's typical on our new replacements where we have a screen system that we put at the inlet. Yeah.
Provide you with a brief update that we have replaced Norm's position. So there is another person that is doing that position. So it'd be very similar at a minimum of once a week, the beach and outhouses are maintained. And I can certainly look into this, happy to, for the recommendations.
Thank you.
Updated stuff.
Wait, I'm gonna show you.
Just one quick clarification. You said 44 voted
Yeah.
And no marina.
And no space for marina, we don't want.
All right,
There are no open lots on the lake, so there's.
Wayne, last comment, and then,
Last comment.
thank you.
When I was in there, when I was coming back out, upstream, culvert, I mean, the old, was really down there. It was really pretty much.
something like this.
Mary, you might read the resolution, please.
Moved by Councillor Good, seconded by Councillor Regent, be it resolved that council receives for information and presentation from Chattanooga Lake Association, requested council consider the following. Allowing residents with water access properties on Chattanooga Lake to leave boats and trailers at the boat launch area, provided they have identification showing they are permitted to do so. And establishing a process to get temporary permits for items which need to stay longer than 72 hours during the construction project to be dedicated. Now, as per section 5.6 of the procedural policy, request made to council through a delegation shall be deferred until the next regular council meeting to allow council to obtain the necessary information to make an informed decision. And that council instructs the manager of community development to look into office parking and storage of cars, boats, and trailers and substitute permits for other items such as shopping with the boat launch, and questions to those of you and provide information to council at the next regular council meeting. And that council receives the public works manager. And that the public works manager provided an update on the culvert at the causeway on Chattanooga Lake, advising the replacement is currently being designed.
Okay, in favor of the resolution? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Okay, item 8, adoption of the minutes.
Moved by Councilor Regent, seconded by Councilor Good, be it resolved that council adopts the minutes of the meeting held June 12, 2025 as written.
Comments? In favor? Carried. Item 9, resolution 285-23, Fontenay Municipal Services Corporation Shareholders Agreement.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Engel, seconded by Councilor Good. First council passed resolution 285-23 at the meeting on June 20th, 2023, agreeing to join the Municipal Services Corporation. Therefore, be resolved that council receives information from the County of Frontenac report regarding the Frontenac Municipal Services Corporation Shareholders Agreement. The council will consider a bylaw later in the meeting to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the resolution.
Comment? In favor of the resolution? Resolution carried. Item B, 9B, update regarding additional dwelling units, public meeting set for August 7, 2025.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Engel, seconded by Councilor Good. Whereas at the meeting held August 22nd, 2024, council passed resolution 90-24, defeating for information and clerk planning and administrative support. I have proposed to update the constitutional family zoning bylaw to permit additional dwelling units. The council instructed county planning staff to initiate the process of amending the official plan and zoning bylaw and to consult with the economic development council. Therefore, be resolved, the council received information in the June 11, 2025, for planning minister, advising the new audit, project manager, senior planner with the County of Frontenac has researched policies, servicing options, and consulted with the EDCF as directed, and has drafted official planning policies for service. And the council instructs the clerk planning minister to prepare a notice at a public meeting held August 7, 2025, at 4 p.m. to receive any public comments and consider the draft law.
Comments? Deputy Mayor?
Well, we have the meat pay here in person, that would, I think that would be perfect. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, in favor of the resolution? Carries. Okay, item 9C, resolution 139-24, Lions Club, Land of Lakes, proposal for November memorial banners.
Moved by Councillor Good, second by Councillor Ingalls, whereas council passed resolution 131-24 at their meeting on April 5th, 2024, approving the Lions Club of Land O'Lakes, placing memorial banners honoring veterans of Jamestown. Now therefore be resolved, the council received a letter dated June 27, 2025 from the Lions Club, providing an update on the memorial banner program and advising they would like to place an additional 5 banners in club. The council supports the program and thanks the Lions Club for their initiative to recognize veterans. And the council instructs the manager of community development to assist with determining the location and mounting of the flags where feasible.
Do we know how they're gonna fix the people that live on Bennett?
They did it in, Coin and Northbrook area last year, and they really did a good job.
No, I agree. I just don't know how they,
Better moving
I don't
forward.
know how they choose on them.
So, in favor of the resolution? Anyone opposed? Carried. Item 9D, resolution 15025, Manager of Community Development, Electronic Vehicle Charging Station Usage Report.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Ingalls, second by Councilor Good, whereas at the meeting held April 25th, 2025, council passed resolution 15025, instructing the manager of community development to provide monthly usage report of the EV chargers to council. Now therefore be resolved, the council receives for information in June 2025 usage report and the graph showing the 3-month average.
Comment. Solid and definite.
I see in the report that, the $774 and 70 cents made. And, where's that money from?
You know, your general revenue. Your
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, that comes into our revenue for the.
general revenue. Deputy Mayor?
You have any comments, Brooke, on my comments, that this is too much information?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's not my intent to continue to provide reports like this. I just thought it was a good opportunity at the 3-month mark. The mayor had asked for some graphing. So, we spent some time trying to look at the averages and what it looked like over 3 months. But my intent is if you still want to continue receiving, you'll just need an additional.
I would, just a graph month by month. Obviously. Okay, and save you a lot of work. There's a lot of work into it. Thank you for doing it. Really appreciate it. Anyone else? Okay, in favor of the resolution? Carried. Okay, item 10A, communications of interest.
Moved by Councilor Regent, seconded by Councilor Good. Be it resolved that council receives for information Section 8 items of the clerk's administrative report entitled Communications of Interest.
Comment? In favor? Carried. Item 10B, communications, section B, action item. B1, Roy Whitaker, resident, request for speed limit reduction on Ardock Road.
Moved by Councilor Regent, seconded by Councilor Good. Be it resolved that council received a letter dated June 13th, 2025 from Roy Whitaker, resident, requesting council consider reducing the speed limit on Ardock Road between the town limits of Ardock, and that the public works manager will review this request and provide a recommendation to the council at a future meeting.
Comments? Deputy Mayor?
Where is the edge of Ardock going?
Mr. Mayor, I'll have to review where the edge of the hamlet is and what's considered the village. Part of my review of this request.
Councilor Fowler?
Yeah, I think the sign is just before you get to that property.
At River Road. At River Road.
No, so the east of the river road. And he's been a lot of development of that little section of land. And he's been improving it quite a bit. And I think that's really favorable.
We're just. Yeah, we're not making a decision here, but. Okay, in favor of the resolution? Carried. Item 10B2, Prince Edward County, Request for support advocacy to the federal government for disability without poverty.
Moved by Councilor Regis, second by Councilor Good, whereas council received a request for support from Prince Edward County, requesting support advocating the federal government for disability without poverty, and that 1 in 4 Ontarians live with a disability. And whereas persons with disabilities are twice as likely to live in poverty or require an average of 30% more income just to reach the poverty line. And whereas the new federal benefits, which is with disability, and disability benefit, approximately $200 per month is about to be rolled out, and the federal government is yet to exempt this new federal benefit from being considered in the federal taxes. Now therefore be resolved that the Council of North Frontenac supports Prince Edward County request to the Prime Minister that the Government of Canada commit to exempting the Canada Disability Benefit in income tax and work towards supporting Canadians with a disability to live without poverty. And that a copy of this resolution be provided to the Prime Minister, the Federal Minister of Finance, the Federal Minister of Health, the Canadian Municipalities, the Royal Ontario Municipal Association, the Eastern Ontario Ordinance Caucus, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and Prince Edward County.
Comments? Councilor Hoodle?
So I have no problem with it, but when I checked this online yesterday, but federal government has enough, no. Because this written letter was written June 10th, I believe it is, actually now, but you might just want to check.
We can still agree to support it or not. So, in favor of the resolution? Carried. Item 10B3, County of Frontenac Open Farms Proclamation.
Moved by Councilor Regis, second by Councilor Good, whereas the Township of North Frontenac recognizes the importance of agriculture in the region, and whereas the Township believes a strong agricultural economy is essential for enduring communities, to the health of our residents, and to establish a strong community and support a beautiful community for our citizens as well as our businesses and organizations. And whereas the Township has a vision of a strong agriculture community that is rooted in the character of Frontenac and its residents walking natural, healthy, clean, tranquil, entrepreneurial, and rural by choice and conviction. And whereas the Township is committed to supporting agriculture to grow businesses, attract more visitors, and expand the tax base, now therefore be resolved that the Council of the Federation of the Township of Frontenac hereby declares September 5th, 2025 as open farm in the Township of North Frontenac, to remind individuals of the importance of this celebration, which supports the local agricultural and school businesses in our communities, and that the Township encourages all residents to support local farms and food businesses by them.
How's your voice? Okay, any comments? Deputy Mayor?
I'm certainly in favor of this, but would simply note that it's very centered on agriculture. Try to think of the number of farms. The farming community needs to exist here.
It is a county initiative, and it used to be over 2 or 3 weeks, weekend. And we combined it into 3 days. If you go, it's really interesting, so. Anyway, who's in favor of the resolution? Carried. Okay, item 11, extension road allowance closure for Sandy Willis update.
Moved by Councilor Deputy Mayor Engel, second by Councilor Good. Be resolved the Council receives information with the planning and administrative report, titled the Government Services Sandy Willis update. And that based on the provisions of the sale of land policies, Council denies the application to close stock office for a portion of the contested road allowance received in section 6.7 and lot 38, geographic township declarative.
Comments? Deputy Mayor?
So if we sell even a foot of the concession road allowance to the Sandy and Willis, that means the Mannion property behind. That's right. I got that right.
Somewhat. So when we do the new lot development, We generally ask for a 66-foot right of way in order to access the newly created lot. So there wouldn't be 66 feet left to access this back lot. However, it is slightly different because it isn't a legal right of way, it is a concession. The people can use concession that allows them really at the leisure council. So I think it's very, if you use that, then you can get this fund you can. So it is a big difference in that, but I think what is that if you require 66, or if there isn't 66 feet, the council will just use it, they wouldn't be required to the plan.
So I can see why, Mr. Sandy wants another few feet, because I've got built, but I've got built, but we absolutely don't want to deny access. Time, is there any way of doing it?
Apparently there's an access from the south, but it's through wetlands and swamp, and they would require MVCA permission to be granted, so it's probably not practical.
That was referred to by Mr. Cassani and Chad Manning said. These other two accesses are simply not good.
The answer is it comes off 507, or 506, yep. This is where they went looked at it. So either that or and you go up there asking for half of it.
I thought they were only at pretty weird.
So, we originally asked to propose the entire area, and then normally we offer half to each property owner on the eastern side. Before we got through that process, we realized that there were concerns with them to address the 3-meter requirement. For 5-yard setbacks, we looked at the 3 meters, which was then 55, 56 feet left for access. But because of the provisions in the official plan and zoning, that's not going to be sufficient for that lot development.
So we have to deny this unless we can guarantee access to it.
The Herman?
Well, my question would be, if the Manions did decide to develop that property, what was the township actually require them to do?
If they receive a severance today from there, they would be required to provide an access to the newly created lot to do 300 foot of the official plan today. So if the roads are not 66 feet wide, they're not required to be 66 feet wide, they're to be surveyed 6 feet wide. There's a driving width of about 20 feet. It has to be an requirement. So that's not the full 66 feet that's used for the actual driving. So, but it is 66 feet required in case the road ever needs to do it.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I think we discussed on this too, is the possibility of keeping the road that if the manuals do develop over to the opposite side of where this house is. And that would leave a buffer zone behind the house, trees and whatever, to keep people away from their house and the sight views better. So if we did that, I don't know if we would be allowed to give them a permit for 3 meters to use that, or can we do that?
So they could also request a license, while they're owning it, they could have a license to do it on the concession. They're not it's not easy to only think that they're like out. And also anybody who isn't even going to have a license agreement. So if they wanted to dig out their foundation and they were going to be on the council property, they could have a license agreement, or something or whatever, but they couldn't build them.
Dr. Fowler.
It's just reviewing the item B two, and it's just associated to the property. I think. Once we take that, I can put that back.
Okay, All in favor of this resolution? Opposed? Carried. Okay, item 11B, license agreement application for possession road allowance, 2649991, Ontario Incorporated, Mannion.
Moved by Councilor Summers, second by Councilor Futile. Be it resolved that council receives information before County Manager's administrative report entitled license agreement application to use the concession road allowance at 2649991 Ontario Incorporated, Mannion. And the council instructs the clerk to advise the applicant in terms of season principle of the request to open a laneway along westerly limit on the 66th of the second road allowance between concession 67 to lot 36, 37 and 58. Using that council provided they survey the road allowance, obtain any permit that requires an $50 consultation, apply for an entrance permit and civil gazette, and provide a certificate of insurance. Once this information is provided to the clerk, council authorizes the mayor to sign the license agreement, including the person who wishes to see the sample agreement provided with the clerk. As the applicant shall work with the public works foreman on the standards for the construction of the road, and the clearing which shall not exceed 9 meters, and the driving surface which shall not exceed 6 feet.
Comments? In favor? All right, I'm afraid I've got the gun, I apologize.
So I didn't hear in there, in the blueprint to the west side, is that in there?
Yes, it's there.
Or was that? Okay. Thank you.
So let's do that again. In favor of the resolution? Opposed? Carried. Item C, draft procedural policy, which is really the draft procedural bylaw.
Moved by Councilor Little, second by Councilor Farmer. Be it resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled draft procedural policy. The council instructs the clerk to make the following amendments to the draft procedural policy, and that the amended policy be provided to council at an upcoming meeting for council's consideration.
Comments? Councilor Little?
First, thanks, Tara, for doing a lot of work on this procedure policy. The only thing that I would like to have seen is what I call track changes done on the policy, so I know exactly what was changed and what was left the same and what was moved, and I understand that you weren't able to, well, maybe I'll let you explain why you couldn't do that.
Well, that's how I started it, just typing in what was different and what was moving. And then because there was a lot of moving parts, there was so much straight through. A lot of stuff wasn't changing, but it appeared it was because it was moving to a different section and the sections were being moved. So it's very cumbersome taking this tracking on it, figure out how to do it, not tracking to use. And create a document to use side by side. That's sort of what happened there. And also, with the red line document, we want to get accessibility. These terms and with the part of the part of the general requirement.
Is it possible to have a vote? Well, yeah, that's what I would like. I'm not speaking for council.
So first of all, Council Power.
It's, I was looking at the report, and on the second page, it's, you know, a whole bunch of bullets, and then paragraph, and the next paragraph addresses the changes in, the local council session. And, there's electronic participation, should be considered, not considered in that. In other words, we shouldn't allow anybody to participate electronically by phone. And the reason is for loss of confidentiality and it's definitely, so I sort of agree with that.
Does anybody else want to comment on that before I do? Each municipality has a procedural bylaw, and each one is slightly different. So if you go to the county and you think you're going to do a Zoom meeting or and you're part of the council, good luck. They have a list of 4 or 5 or 6 items you can be absent for, and they limit the actual number of meetings you can be on Zoom. we could do that here, but the only downside really being on Zoom is sometimes the connection is not good. Or especially when we switch from a open meeting to a closed, if we seem to lose at that point in time. The other downside is that when you're on a Zoom call, if everybody is on, hooked in virtually, it's an easy meeting to run. You can see everybody. When you've got 5 or 6 here and you've got 1 or 2 on Zoom, it's really difficult to constantly remind yourself that there are 1 or 2 people participating electronically. So it becomes more difficult to use or to represent your constituents. That's my opinion. So after a lot of thought, I decided to leave it the way it is, as far as I'm concerned, but there's 6 other linkages. So does anybody want to else want to talk about exploring this? Did you get a little bit of copy as well? Or, like I went through it and I only have one other comment. That really was on the local board section that added provisions for strong air powers, clarification of unpermission provided. I didn't do that. But that's just second. Do a whole market in this so far. Right?
Yeah, I don't want to hold this up just because I want to let, you know, an edited version. I'd still like to have that though. When I read through it, a lot of this stuff is really, hasn't really changed that much. As far as the strong mayor powers go, that's mandated by the province. Nothing we can do about that. That has to go in there. So it has to go. There's nothing we can do. As far as the other stuff that was in there, it really didn't change that much. But if the other council members don't want an edited version, that's fine. But if maybe I don't want to and just take a look at it.
What I did like about it was that it took strong mayor powers and it included what we delegated, what I delegated to council and staff, was that everything as business as usual as possible. Never change. We hire somebody who can't, we never change what company they do, whatever. It's all come back to keep it as feasible as possible. So. Sorry, Wayne.
Can I ask Tara, how much of the job is it to do with Councilor Costa?
It will be a bit of a job. I'm gonna guess for now.
What do you think?
Now,
No.
see.
Yes. The only question is, you want to further to get that the next meeting, or are we going to go away? This is just a draft that's going back anyway. Deputy Mayor.
Favorite feeling with this now.
Councilor Hoodle?
So we're just approving the draft, anyway, correct? So if you provide an edited version or a markup of what's changed, we can always bring it up at the next council meeting. Correct?
Yeah. So my intent was to get all of your comments, what you would like to see changed today. And then make those changes based on the instructions and bring it back to the bylaw to adopt the new procedural policy. So we don't have to follow, there's no legislation that says how long we can do or anything like that. So if you want extra time, that's totally fine. I won't be at the next council meeting, so I can get it back to September, so everybody, whatever works.
There, Howard?
Well, it already says it can be reviewed at any time, so.
This is just a draft. It's got to come back anyway. So all in favor of the resolution? Sorry,
Were there any amendments that you want to make?
I'd like you to
You
check
want to
out
do the
that
technical
motion.
support, right?
Local board, that's right.
Just a question too.
Sure.
So Am I reading this right, that, it won't be basically any more Zoom meetings?
No, that was just put in there for reference. Because the number of municipalities like Deltron Act does not allow closed Zoom meetings. You have to be there and, you know,
Closed.
physically be there, right? The county urges you, they'll just, you've had your three, that's it, you're done. And everybody's there. That's the way other municipalities are doing. So we're allowing us to go either way, because it's just difficult when you're doing a more difficult representation. Because what just here, that's my issue. Okay?
Just if I tell you I'm on Zoom meetings, I tell you ahead of time too,
Do a good
that
job of that.
what
Thank
my
you.
concerns are in case I do get
Yep.
cut off.
Yeah. It's just easy to forget sometimes. Last track.
No, and I think the Zoom meetings are important because I do believe that we should all be here, but there are times where, you know, I've missed a meeting because I was sick, but I was able to attend at home. So I think it's important that we have the capability of Zoom meetings, but understanding that I'd like to be here in person.
Okay, in favor of the draft, please send back. Opposed? Okay, item 10 is 11D. Rules and bylaw for the rules and regulations, the operation, care, and control of municipally owned cemeteries.
Moved by Councillor Hermer, second by Councillor Fuel, be it resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled bylaw for the rules and regulations for the operation, care, and control of municipally owned cemeteries. And that the bylaw is submitted to the Bereavement Authority of Ontario for review and received approval on June 10th, 2025. The council will consider a bylaw to regulate and govern the operation of township-owned cemeteries later in the meeting.
Comment? Councilor Fowler?
Yeah, just wondered if we have a accurate list of people that are in the different cemeteries. I mean, right across people with the going to be in the cemetery, can't find a spot. Let's not find a person. But yeah, it's happened before, and I brought it up once before, and think of issue that we should be in there.
So we have, to the best of our ability, a list of people who are here and there. Some of these cemeteries are extremely remote, and we don't have the records we inherited these cemeteries from communities, it includes local churches, things like that. So actually the North Frontenac Historical Society is working on a big project on the history of who's buried there and even how they're connected to the community and different things like that. So that's a really great website. If you go on there, they have great information about the different cemeteries and more of the history side of it. So people are looking for that, that's where I would suggest. And then for us, and really we have mapping, we have the area district, that's the records we have. And really if we look at it, so our mapping is used to south spots in these areas and not really about people. So if you're looking at that side of it, it would be a township thing, it would be more records available and be there.
So we're what the historical society is, and I think we have a real much heavy job to do, and try to get through the third topic.
The others, comment? In favor of the resolution? Opposed? Carried. Okay, item 11E, amendments to township's official plan and site plan control bylaw.
Moved by Councillor Hudel, second by Councillor Hermer, be it resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled amendments to the township's official plan and site plan control bylaw and that a public meeting to receive comments regarding the proposed amendments to the official plan will be held on August 28, 2025, at 5:00 p.m. prior to the regular council meeting.
Comments? In favor of the resolution? Opposed? Carried. Item 11F. Transfer of property to the County of Frontenac for the KNP Trail, road allowance bylaws required.
Moved by Councilor Hermer, seconded by Councilor Hudel. Be it resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report titled transfer of property to the County of Frontenac for KNP Trail, road allowance bylaw required. And the council instructs the clerk to prepare the road closing bylaw for council's consideration at a future council meeting.
Questions, comments? Councilor Fowler?
This is the problem, south of the Mississippi River.
There's three of them. Yeah. Anyone else? In favor of the resolution? Resolution carried. Item 11G, the 2025 OCA conference, May 11th to the 14th, 25.
Moved by Councilor Hudel, seconded by Councilor Hermer. Be it resolved that council receives for information the deputy clerk is to the planning manager and clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled 2025 OCA conference, May 11th to 14th, 2025.
Comments? I think the report is absolutely very, very well done. That's great. Thank you. In favor of the resolution? Opposed? Carried. Item 11H, Shore Road Allowance Application for Approval in Principle, D.
Moved by Councilor Hermer, seconded by Councilor Hudel. Be it resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Shore Road Allowance Application for Approval in Principle D. The council approves in principle the application to close Stop Up and Sell, part of the Shore Road Allowance to be described as part of Lot 25, Concession 8, Geographic Township of Berry, in Part 1 and Registered Plan 13R 22307, Marble Lake.
Comments? In favor? Opposed? Carried. 11I, assumption of portion of Mountain Road to correct the title of properties.
Moved by Councilor Hudel, seconded by Councilor Hermer. Be it resolved that council receives for information the Public Works Managers and the Clerk Planning Manager's administrative report entitled Assumption of a Portion of Mountain Road to correct the title of property. The council receives a request from the solicitor for Barry and Marie Cooley and Gina and Richard Keller providing the history of the properties and the need to have a legal description to correct the respective title. And the council is agreeable to accept these titles to the portion of Mountain Road to Lot 11 and Lot 12 Northeast Range, Geographic Township of Millis, provided the road is surveyed to a width of 20 meters at the expense of the property owner. And the council approves paying the legal fees for the preparation of the transfer, registering the transfer and bylaw and law society fees and miscellaneous disbursements at an estimated cost of $1,000. All legal work completed by the council solicitor for sheriff's certificate, mortgage discharges, appraisals, and any unforeseen title issues shall be covered by the property owners. And the council instructs the treasurer to transfer the township's legal costs associated with the property transfer, including the preparation of the transfer, title search, and registering the bylaw from the contingency reserve. And the council authorizes the mayor and clerk to sign the transfer for this portion of the road allowance, and council will consider a bylaw at a future meeting to assume this portion is Mountain Road. And the council approves the clerk signing an undertaking prepared by the property owner solicitor, advising council will pass the necessary bylaws to dedicate the portion of Mountain Road identified on the required survey as public highways once the property is transferred.
Comments? Definitely.
So this road, what we call Fork Road on private property. So we're simply changing it. Township property.
Any other comments? In favor? Okay, we're gonna take a break to 6:30. I've got to get Tara, yeah, the rest of the boys, a lot of readings for her to do.
It's important to us. Please stand in the line.
Okay, so item 11J. 2025 automatic aid agreement between Central Frontenac and North Frontenac.
Moved by Councillor Hermer, seconded by Councillor Hudel. Be it resolved that council receives for information the Director of Emergency Services Fire Chief Administrative Report entitled 2025 Automatic Aid Agreement between Central Frontenac and North Frontenac. The council approves in principle the automatic aid agreement between Central Frontenac and North Frontenac, and council will consider a bylaw at an upcoming meeting once Central Frontenac Council considers it. And the council instructs the treasurer to transfer any expenses for the automatic aid agreement for 2025 from the Emergency Services Reserve Fund, and that council requests the mayor to incorporate the standby fee into future year budget until such time it is no longer required.
Comments? Councillor Hudel?
So if you give me some leeway here, because the next report offer is sort of same thing. So I'm just gonna ask the chief, I don't understand this $10,000 standby, and if I look at Madawaska, there is a $10,000 standby, is that correct? It's 5,000. Yeah. That's actually 1,600. So why the disruption?
So, Mr. Mayor, through you, it's a different agreement. It's two different townships. It's just different. There's a lot of differences. The great part about the agreement with Central, as it's an automatic aid agreement, if our folks beat them there, we stand them down, there's no fee. It's a measure to decrease response time by estimated 10 to 15 minutes, depending on weather conditions, depending on availability. It's just different. To answer your initial question, it's just a difference.
Is it different because it's geographical, the area, or?
I also, watching their council meetings, and listening to the mayor and so on, they're looking for whatever they can get. They want to start charging for responding to accidents like every 7 and whatever. They haven't got that far yet, but they're very aggressive. Okay, sorry, Councilor Fowler.
Have you, quick question for the chief. Have you made any inroads or items? Interesting.
So, Mr. Mayor, for you, I have not, and the reason for that is we already had an automatic aid agreement in place with Central Frontenac for structure fires only. And then in discussions with Chief McDonough, it just made sense to add a few different layers to the agreement already in place. If I may, I have had discussions with the new chief of Lanark Highlands, casual conversations by way of discussions and talking about mutual aid agreements, possibility of working together in the future, and they're very open to that.
They have practically Donald Mark, right? Okay, in favor of the resolution? Opposed? Resolution is carried. Item 11L. Sorry, did I miss one? Didn't miss one. 11. Okay, I just got a whack there, folks. Stay with me for a second. 11K. Post 2025 automatic aid agreement between Greater Madawaska Township and North Frontenac Township.
Moved by Councillor Hudel, second by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved that council receives for information the Director of Emergency Services Fire Chief Administrative Report entitled Proposed 2025 Automatic Aid Agreement between Greater Madawaska Township and North Frontenac Township. And the council approves the new proposed automatic aid agreement with Greater Madawaska Township. The council will consider a bylaw later in the meeting to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the proposed agreement with Greater Madawaska Township.
Comments? This covers North End Lake. Well,
That's correct, yes.
Councilor Fowler?
I just want to note that there is now a road that M&R Road that
In favor of the resolution? Opposed? Carried. Okay, item 11L, donations and sponsorships for the Pleasant Ring project.
Moved by Councillor Hammer, seconded by Councillor Hudel. Be it resolved, the council receives information and manager of community development administrative report entitled donation sponsorships for Pleasant Ring project. And that council approves the manager of community development developing a Pleasant Ring board advertising program and other fundraising initiatives with community groups. For example, potential community dinner and our businesses by potential donation of labor and work. And the council approves the treasurer to establish a new Pleasant Ring project reserve to be in place during the project and close once the project is complete.
Comments? Councilor Hudel.
Yeah, I just want to say that throughout the community, I've heard nothing but positive about this, and it's just been really good. I was actually there and a whole bunch of people playing pickleball the other day. I just wanted to look at what they're replacing, and it was Dean Mannion, and he said he was sure that the Mannion family would raise a lot of money for this, so. That was from Dean, Glenn, that was from Dean.
And I've heard the same. Deputy Mayor?
You got a figure for an 8-foot section of board there yet? Brooke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, nothing's official yet. I'm working on some population.
I understand the Scotiabank and Toronto charges $75,000 a game, so.
We'll get right on.
It'll not be that.
Okay. In favor of the resolution? Opposed? Carried. Okay, item 11M, rental agreement between the Township of North Frontenac and the North Frontenac Historical Society and Archives to occupy the office space at the full-back garage.
Moved by Councillor Hudel, seconded by Councillor Hammer. Be resolved, the council receives for information the manager of community development administrative report entitled rental agreement between the Township of North Frontenac and the North Frontenac Historical Society of Archives to occupy the office space at the Levant branch. The council will consider a bylaw later in the meeting to authorize the mayor and such to sign the rental agreement between the Frontenac Historical Society and Archives.
Comments? Deputy Mayor?
I think it's great that they're going to have open houses and such as.
Anyone else? I have one question, please, the agreements, that is 2024, it's like that. So if you put up everything, you know, it should not be- you don't have to do that.
What did you, was it backdated to that? It was backdated. It was backdated.
Well, it's a 6-year agreement. 2030. Okay, thank you. In favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, external committees, item 12. Committee of Adjustment Planning and Advisory Committee.
Moved by Councillor Herbert, seconded by Councillor Hudel. Be resolved, the council receives for information the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment Planning Advisory Committee dated May 26, 2025.
That's in favor. Carried. Environmental Task Force, 12B.
Moved by Councillor Hudel, seconded by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the notes of the Environmental Task Force dated June 24th, 2025.
Comments? In favor? Opposed? Carried. Before I go on, I want to take a minute to talk about this. There's a lot of chatter on Facebook about mandatory septic inspection, voluntary septic inspection. I just want to make sure everybody understands. North Frontenac Township has had this voluntary septic inspection program for years. We send out 500 or 600 letters. We work with the lake associations, they work with us. North Frontenac Lake Alliance works with us. We try and target certain areas. Does it work? Sort of. It's not a mandatory system. The Environmental Task Force is considering looking at a mandatory inspection system. But the way I understand it, it's only on the sale of the property. So if you have a property, you want to sell it, the buyer is going to check the septic system anyway. So 99% of the people would do that. And if the system's faulty, you would make the decision, do I buy it? Do I fix it? Do I negotiate with the seller? And so on. So it's just to clarify what's really happening. And anything coming out of a task force is an advisory task force. They're just talking about it. And if they get to the point where they want to make a recommendation, it will come to council, and council will either accept it, modify it, or be. Okay, so I'm glad everybody's looking at this stuff and is paying attention, but sometimes we get ahead of ourselves. And we're very aware that it's a hot topic, actually. Okay, sorry. Item 13, giving notice of motion. Does anyone wish to do that? Saying none. We have no motions that were given previously. And council portfolio verbal reports, item 15. Okay, so the mayor's up first. We had a county council meeting. Much of what we discussed, you've already seen here today, so nothing really outstanding. We had Lake Association meetings with Mazenot, Popular Owners Association, Sunday Lake. I've got Cashwackamak Lake and Buckshot Lake to go this weekend, and I got Palmerston and East Big Dog the following weekend. And that's about it. So, and nothing with the North Frontenac Lake Association Lions. Mostly good. All right, Councilor Regent.
We had that Mackinac Lake Association meeting last Saturday. This Saturday is Cashwackamak. Nothing else to report.
Okay. Councilor Hoodoo.
So we have a MBCA board meeting on Monday, so report at the next meeting, but we also, being the chair of the board, I get to go to a whole bunch of other meetings. So with the policy advisory committee meeting and the finance committee meeting last week. It's a long time. I'm actually doing a presentation at the Cashwackamak Lake Association this Saturday on the environmental task force. I have, obviously, I'll be at the Buckshot Lake Association meeting, and I've been invited to Bruley and Gull Lake to talk about the task force there too. And this Wednesday, we are meeting, Councilor Regent and I are meeting with 2 councillors from Addington Highland and 4 MPs and MPPs regarding Eurasian milfoil and other invasive species in Mackinac Lake and throughout North Frontenac.
Okay. Councilor Hermer. Councilor Fowler.
Yeah, Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance, there's no more meetings until September. And the same with the seniors and law enforcement together. Then and then with the, I think we got a presentation from them in September. I've been invited to the Elbow Community Center meeting this week. Very popular with that. And the other business.
Thank you. Councilor English. The deputy mayor.
I've got Lake Association meetings coming up in a couple of weeks. A week for Palmerston in August. The Saturday meeting with Fred from the
Thank you. So we have bylaws to be considered.
Moved by Councilor Fiddle, second by Councilor Farmer. Be resolved that leave be given to the mover to introduce the following bylaws that have been circulated to all members of council. 2025-27 to regulate and govern the operations of cemeteries. 2025-28 to adopt an asset management plan. 2025-29 to enter into an automatic heat agreement with Greater Alaska. 2025-30 to enter into Frontenac Municipal Services Corporation agreement. 2025-31 to enter into a lease agreement with North Frontenac Historical Society and Archives, and that these bylaws be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Comments? In favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, item 17 is a public forum. Anyone wish to speak to an item on the agenda? 2 or 3 minutes, keep it short, keep it succinct. Mr. Lesbros?
Just a quick question before I was just a question before I, don't think it has to be on the agenda.
I've always had it that way. Where it is. Act well. Actually, chaotic, we tried to. And everybody did speak to it in one way or the other. What's your topic when you speak about it? Well, if you give me the topic and the control for it.
It pertains to.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak about it?
Not.
Ashley? Yes, come on.
So just in the regard to the Shabamika, about their access, we can talk about that. They mentioned in the what she was saying, he was saying about boat access versus road access, and to not allow people with road access that they don't want them to leave boats or trailers or vehicles at the access because they're road access. So to me, everybody on the lake pays taxes. So whether your boat access or road access shouldn't really be relevant. If it's Shabamika, then they should all be able to use it. Everything they were talking about, to me, they're wanting too many things that would be with tax-paying dollars that, as Darwin said, it's beyond, their agreement. You'd have to go to bylaw. A resolution for this possibly would be provincial park for Shabamika. We had our hunting camp in a different area, and similar situation, and the whole area went to a provincial park, and then the province regulated who can park there, permits, that sort of stuff, access to the beach, all that sort of thing she's asking for that are a little out of reach for this township. I do have a question and a clarification. When Brett was talking about the revenue, was $774.75 for 3 months or 1 month for the EV?
Mr. Mayor, it is per quarter.
So, I guess my question would be, if you can answer it, or maybe in another meeting, what does it cost to have the EV operational and running for 3 months? So is our revenue going to cover the cost, or is the township in the hole for having the EV going?
That's in your presentation, right? You go through the actual charts.
No, so it doesn't talk about the costs that will be coming out of future council.
Okay.
Thanks for the question.
Just seeing if the revenue is going to even cover the cost of having it running, and if it's even worth having, if it's not going to be even covering that cost. Something else that I touched on was cemeteries. Knowing who's buried in cemeteries is part of the operation of a cemetery. So the township should do their best ability to know who is buried and be able to answer those questions from the public. I know the records are very shoddy from churches and old cemeteries and things like that. But having that information and being able to pass that along to the public who's looking to purchase properties or look for loved ones is something that should definitely be in the township's paperwork to the best of their ability of who is buried there, instead of just saying, oh, the historical society will help you. It is part of the operation of a cemetery. So having that would go a long way to potential buyers and people looking for family members.
Thank you very much. Good point. Anyone else? Okay, Pardon me?
Big dollar and figure in that.
Sure.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so I just want to start off by reading you something here. I am here as a member of the press. As from what I understand from speaking with Stephanie, actually, is that space is reserved for Jeff Green with the Frontenac News. He did not come out today, so I will be taking his seat. That's the way the law works. I will read you. Notice of press rights. My name's Donald Morton Jr. I'm an investigative reporter with the North Frontenac News Media. It's an independent journalism outlet serving the public interest of this township. I have the right to attend and report on this meeting based on the following. Ontario Municipal Act 2001, Section 239, Section 1. All meetings shall be open to the public. This includes independent journalists. There is no legal requirement for media to be part of a corporate outlet. Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom, Section 2B. Freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including freedom of press and other media communication. As an actively publishing journalist, I'm sure you've all read my articles, I am protected under this right. I have published multiple articles on this council's operations. My reporting is available publicly and is based on verified documentation. And I repeat, is available publicly. There's no legal basis for reserving press seating for a single outlet or excluding independent reporters. I respectfully request a written legal basis that the claim be recorded publicly for transparency. I'm here lawfully and respectfully to serve the public's right to know if that is, you decide to reject my claim of being here as press. I want it recorded publicly and a legal basis for my ejection as press.
Okay, so this is not a back and forth thing.
I don't ask for back and forth. It's
So
simple.
hang on. Jeff Green from Frontenac News was here because now we have no on YouTube. All these meetings are taped. And that's how he used it. He goes through it bit by bit and then
Mhm.
that and so on. So if you registered, sure, go ahead.
Okay, we'll be going forward with questions that I prepared for this committee. Also, for this council. So on procedural power shifts with the procedural changes you've discussed, you've all said that you need parsed out information with separate copies of what's different in each one. I did that all myself in about half an hour. I'm not sure why you guys didn't do it. So my question, does the new procedural policy increase the township clerk's authority over what gets included on the agenda and excluded from the minutes? What safeguards are in place to ensure accountability to the public if we're answering to the clerk? I have 5 questions. I'm not sure if you want to answer them one by one or
If we don't answer them, we're going to hear the question.
fair enough. My next question, it's on the integrity commissioner's dual role in this council. Section 223.3 of the Municipal Act says the integrity commissioner must, quote, must be independent and impartial. But in North Frontenac, the integrity commissioner, he works at the same law firm that provides legal counsel to this township, even if a different lawyer is assigned at that law firm. Does that not create a perceived conflict of interest? A perceived conflict of interest that undermines public trust? That's my question. Question 3, it's on legal oversight and public protection. So it's a follow-up to that question on number 2. This kind of dual role that we have set up here, it's technically allowed under the Municipal Act only if there is an independent oversight body in place. Since North Frontenac has no such committee, does the mayor believe the township is meeting the spirit of the law? Or does he accept that the residents and the ombudsman of Ontario may see this as an integrity failure? Number 4, this one's on the regards to the Plevna Rink and the infrastructure deficit. I went through the agenda package. I was under the impression, well, I first wrote it as $4.6 million total debt, or annual debt rather, and I was corrected by somebody saying it was, that's the total debt. So I would like clarification on what the actual deficit is. Sorry, I said debt, I meant deficit. My question. So when the township reports, this is based on the 4.6 million in total. The township reports a $4.6 million infrastructure deficit. But when grant funded projects like the Plevna Rink, when they move ahead, they don't reduce that number because grant money does not count towards closing that deficit gap. So if we repair it up, we Plevna Rink using grants, it doesn't help closing infrastructure gap at all. From what I took from the company. Can council explain why spending is going to high visibility projects that don't solve the deficit while core infrastructure like roads continue to fall behind? The report did clarify that the most of our infrastructure is actually labeled already as poor or very poor. We'd be lucky to have a brand new or medium more. I'll repeat my question there. Can council explain why spending is going to high visibility projects that don't solve the deficit while our core infrastructure continues to fall behind? My last question. The June minutes were just published with this July agenda. They weren't published in June, and they were adopted just now in this meeting. I read them. They don't reflect what actually happened. A veteran spoke out against the swastika motion. I was here. I am witness to it. 2 councillors here, Councillor Hermer and Councillor Fowler, they engaged in a public debate. We all saw it. It's online. That was not reflected in the minutes either. None of that was on the official record. Why is such a significant moment in public discourse being left out of the township meetings?
I'm going to stop right there.
I'm done.
Thank you. All that is on YouTube for everybody to see. That's the reason we do it, because not everybody can come to a meeting. We have 6 of them at night or in the evening, like this one, and in the winter we have 6 during the day. Not everybody can make them, so they can see it for themselves, and that's the way it is.
Well, you just said going forward in the future, in this meeting now, that you think it's too hard to get your point across to your constituents if it's over Zoom and over YouTube. You just said that.
It's hard to, let me explain. I don't have to do this, but I'm going to. When you have a counselor on YouTube, I'm sorry, you have a counselor on Zoom, and you have 6 of us here, it's easy to forget you have a 7th counselor. You have to constantly think about it. So as a result, sometimes the counselor loses on Zoom, loses the connection or drops, especially if we get out of open and going to close. For some reason, we tend to lose that. And it's more difficult for that counselor to represent his or her ward, his or her constituents. That was my only point. But we left it exactly as is. Councillors can make their own decision. Well, that's the proposal anyway. Councillors can make their own decision to participate by Zoom or come to this meeting. Okay, so Give you another minute if you want, that's it.
Well, I said, those are all my questions.
Thank you very much for your time and thank you for your questions.
Are you not going to answer those questions?
You don't answer.
I said, I'm here, members press.
Okay,
Your,
you can talk to us
no answer
later.
your questions will be answered.
You can talk to us later. But during the meeting, we don't do this. This is not a back and forth.
Well,
I'm
going
ready
forward in
for
the
everything.
future, I've stated the law, I would like a spot for press, my own table, and my own question period,
You did. your
and my
answer.
questions not screened.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. So at
Jerry.
this point in time, Lori,
Could we just ask if anybody online, if
Okay.
anybody online has any questions, if you could use the raise hand feature?
thanks.
Actually, we do have. Go ahead, Kelly.
Takes a little bit of time to come in. I just had a question about one of the discussions that went on this evening regarding the license for road allowance, accessing the road allowance off of 509. The Mannion decision, I'm just wondering if my understanding is clear. There was 33 feet was given on the west side of the allowance, which so the 33 feet on the right is not going to be accessed at this point in time.
All 66 feet were retained by the township.
Yes, I understand that, but was the license agreement approved?
Yes.
Okay.
Once we sign it, yes.
Will they be accessing the full 66 feet, or will they only be accessing the west side of the 66 feet?
We have asked for we've asked Mannion to build a road to keep it on the west side to give you more privacy. But the entire 66 feet belongs to the township and will be built when the Mannions decide to do it.
Okay, that sounds excellent. Thank you very much for the time.
Okay, so anybody else, Brooke? Okay, so we're going to move out of open and we're going to go into closed. I need a resolution.
Moved by Councillor Hermer, second by Councillor Buell, be it resolved that council retires to closed session at 7:04 p.m. to adopt minutes of a closed meeting held June 12, 2025, to consider personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and to consider advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
In favor? Seeing no one opposed? Okay, carried. So we have to clear the council chamber, please. If you stick around.
Anybody online,
We're done.
if you could remove yourself from the meeting, you'll be able to rejoin
There's
once
the-
the closed session has been resolved.
Welcome back, everyone. Very much.
Moved by Councillor Hermer, seconded by Councillor Theodore. Be it resolved the council accepts the resignation of Councillor Regent from the Economic Development Task Force, and the council appoints Mabel Blank at this stage as the interim chair of the EDTF. And the council accepts the resignation of Councillor Regent from the Open Space Attachment Board. And the council instructs the CAO to provide to Councillor Focus from the Detachment Board for reappointment of the board member at an upcoming council meeting. And that council thanks Councillor Regent for her contributions to the EDTF and the OPP Detachment Board.
So I nominate Deputy Mayor. Stephanie. In favor? Sorry. So in favor of the resolution, the Thomas Green, the Citizen Chair. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so, that leaves us with. Pardon? I'm sorry, I lost it. Should never be using. Okay, confirming bylaw 2025-32.
Moved by Councillor Hughes, second by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved that bylaw 2025-32, being a bylaw to confirm all actions and proceedings with council for its regular meeting held July 10th, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time in county.
Final comments? In favor? Carried. Adjournment?
Moved by Councillor Hermer, second by Councillor Hughes. Be it resolved that council adjourns the meeting at 8:07 p.m. until August 7th, 2025, or at the ballot this year.
In favor? Meeting stands adjourned. Thank you for coming.